Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Down to Earth Gardening and Design, and I'm here today with my daughter Hannah. This is part two of things that we did and didn't like in our gardens last year to help us with planning for the 2024 garden, which we're really excited about because it's winter. And when you're planning, garden planning is really important. I always say the best garden is a planned garden. You really want to start thinking about now things you want to implement and things that you struggled with, flowers or seeds that you may not really try again, techniques that didn't work, just overall things that we struggled with so we can have a better plan for them. So I tend to get really chatty when it comes to gardening. So please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in our gardening videos. I have a lot of gardening topics that I want to continue talking about this year. But for today, we're going to try to limit it to the don'ts, what we struggled with, and what we wouldn't do again. So number one is kind of a sore subject. we were just talking about it before we started filming. But Hannah has two Boxwood spirals that frame the front door, and they were quite an investment. And that's pretty typical. They were a few $100s a piece, but they were really specimens that we wanted there as focal points. Look beautiful all year long, and in the winter you light them up with some lights. And so what's happening? Do you want to tell us, or is it too hard for you?
Well, one of them is doing excellent, very full, but the other one is not doing so excellent. It is not
struggling.
Green, yes, it's struggling,
and they no longer match.
They no longer match, but it's been very hard for me to give up on it.
I know, and it's been just about 2 years now that it's declining. We've tried removing
the dead stuff,
the dead foliage. It's tough to really spray anything with chemicals. You know, especially having young kids, it's the front door. We really try to steer away and just do purely organic gardening. But honestly, boxwoods can be tough, and you know, it's very common that they will have a soil-borne disease. And so when we remove it, which I'm pretty sure, I know, it's like, I really didn't want to break the news to Hannah, but you know, it's funny, like we'll come to the house, and even Josh commented, who's filming today, when he came to the house last week, he's like, wow, what's going on with that?
You said that?
It's looking worse, and they don't match. And so you'll have to stay tuned, because we'll really be able to identify what was going on with it when we remove it. So if it's something soil borne, you'll see that the roots will be destroyed. It's just dying a slow death. And so we'll have to film some videos on that, and then also what we're going to do in that location, because the whole idea of that was them matching. And if it was a soil-borne disease, planting another one there, the same thing's just going to happen. And I'm guessing that's probably what it is, because the other one is fine.
Yeah, the other one is doing really well.
So that's been a frustration. Probably one of the top ones this year, and I know a sore subject for you. Okay, so what else was tough this year? We got a lot of questions on blue hydrangeas, because 2023 was not the year for blue hydrangeas. And really that's because last spring, you know, everything was warming up and spring was coming, and then we were hit with a snow and a couple of surprise frosts, and killed all the buds on the hydrangeas. Where are my hydrangea blooms this year? So it isn't anything that any of us really could do or prevent. It was Mother Nature, it was weather, and that was really kind of a bummer for a lot of us. Usually mine by my front door are covered in blooms, and this year I just had a few. So that was disappointing this year. It was. So any flowers you wouldn't try again, or?
I think in the walkway we tried planting snapdragons by seed and they did
Yes.
nothing. So I don't
Yeah.
think I would
Right.
try that
Right.
again or try them from seed again because
Right.
we love snapdragons. But
Right. I mean, I did start a few flowers from seed last year, just to get a head start. And for the most part, our method to our madness is seeds. Like, I order a lot of seeds. I just feel like you get so much more bang for your buck, and you can grow some beautiful things just by sowing the seeds directly in the ground. We do a ton of zinnias, cosmos, and whatnot, but the snapdragons just didn't do anything. We didn't get a single one. So probably if we're going to grow them again, we would buy little nursery plants.
Yeah.
From a local nursery would be
Yeah,
my
maybe
guess.
so.
Yeah, that was a disappointment. So I'm trying to think. We were talking about privacy screens.
Yes. Yes.
So I had a big disappointment, which was so frustrating for me.
Right.
My privacy hedge closer to the house, I planted my favorite deer resistant arborvitae, a whole row of them, because our neighbor is kind of close, and you can probably see the neighbor's house in the background of a lot of my videos. It's along my driveway. But we planted them, they were doing okay. We went away last winter for a little bit, came back, and the deer had eaten the whole strip of them as far up as they could reach. Now, the Niagara arborvitae that I planted, they're on the deer resistant list. They're listed as deer resistant. However, we all know that when deer get hungry, they will eat anything. Mm-hmm. So we had to forfeit those. So I am going to be looking to do some kind of privacy screen this year, and I have some different thoughts that I'll share with you when we tackle that project. But your privacy issue is a little bit different because you do photography in your garden.
Yes, I do photography and just kind of looking for a little more privacy for when I do take those pictures. So I think next year we'll be doing a little more privacy.
Right. Right, exactly. Because you do have a couple. You have some lilacs out there and a couple of evergreens.
The lilacs are nice and tall.
But maybe something fuller towards the back as a screen. And I kind of like, now that we're talking about it, we were talking about another thing we didn't like, which was on the teepee. So in our earlier video, what we did like, that was one of the things we liked, is the teepee with the climbers on it. But you mentioned after there was one planting on the teepee that you weren't crazy about.
The year before that, I did sunflowers on the teepee, and it just, you kind of had to tie it a certain way, and I just didn't think that it looked as nice as a climber.
Right.
So I would only really do climbers on the teepee.
However, you could do your sunflowers for your privacy screen.
Yes.
Just get
make a nice privacy.
Like some of the mammoth, the taller varieties, and move those back there instead, which would probably also be an inexpensive way, to put those back there. And I mean, we love the sunflowers for the birds, and they're so pretty in bouquets. We have a lot of bouquets too. Okay, so what else we didn't like? I'm thinking about vegetable garden too. So what didn't we get a lot of this year?
I didn't get a lot of squash this year. I struggled for squash.
Me too.
Which is usually pretty easy, but mine didn't do great.
So we usually do summer squash and zucchini. Have so many of them, you will carry them over to your neighbors and stuff, because we get so many. This year was kind of a flop, and I've been hearing from a lot of people, because at first I thought it was maybe our seed, but it was the rain. We had so much rain this year that I think a lot of people struggled with the squashes. Yeah. And then the other thing, and you've probably seen this in my video, in my vegetable garden, the groundhog, the woodchucks.
That's right.
Which has evaded me. And it's been kind of a comical journey because my vegetable garden is right next to an addition, and there's a crawl space underneath. So it's ideal for the woodchuck to live there. He comes out and he dines, great buffet. And it's just so frustrating for me. So we've tried a few things. You may have seen my video. I'm sure that's going to be more of a journey. I've kind of resorted to putting a really hideous fence, just not anything permanent around it. And that helped me the most this year. But this year, I think I'm going to be thinking about maybe moving that garden. So I like having the veggies that are close to the house because I work on it, I water it, I can kind of monitor it, but couldn't do anything about the woodchuck. He outsmarted me. So it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
But you didn't really have any like critter, I mean,
No,
bunnies.
we do have a lot of bunnies, but they didn't
Right.
really bother much this year for me.
Right,
No.
right. Yeah, I think it was a pretty good year overall. Just a
Yeah.
couple little minor tweaks. But like I said, it's always good to think about those things and you can kind of think your plan of attack for the garden for the coming year and then maybe some different plants that you want to try or plants that you wouldn't try again. So I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Overall, not bad.
Except for the sore subject.
It's tough too because you think about it every time you leave and go in the house too. You kind of look at it. But stay tuned. We'll bring you more on that and lots of other gardening topics. We so appreciate all of you joining us. We love gardening and we all love gardening together. And I love seeing the kids out there too. So
Yeah.
they really love it also.
Me too.
So thanks so much. If you liked our video, please go ahead and tap like and subscribe and stay tuned for our gardening journey.